Bring in Judge Jeanine Pirro, co-host of The Five. Judge, jump on in here as I read further from this letter. Prosecutors telling the judge in this case they're mindful of the demands and obligations of the presidency and realize that Trump's return to the White House will, quote, raise unprecedented legal questions. Your reaction to the news?
Well, I think it's absurd. And I think that, Juan Merchan was originally, in my mind, a pro-prosecution judge. Now Juan Merchan is an anti-Trump judge. There is sufficient basis to dismiss this case. But instead, Juan Merchan, who was conflicted from the beginning of this and should never have been allowed to handle this case by the administrative judge of the courts, was allowed to handle this case. He gets a conviction on an absurd case that's not real. It's a make-believe case barred by the statute of limitation, bootstrapped by a federal crime over which he has no jurisdiction, and then with a verdict sheet that no one understands. And now he says, look, I'm willing to wait the 4 years so that we can continue to have Donald Trump, the president of the United States, be awaiting sentences on his conviction for 34 felony counts that are ridiculous, absurd, and everyone knows it. Now you've got Bragg who's saying, we want, actually that's Bragg, we want to continue this thing. So Juan Merchan now has to have a hearing and decide whether or not those arguments of Bragg are appropriate to continue this case. The Supreme Court's decision within a month of the conviction, and again, there is no conviction unless and until there's a sentencing, that decision reels right into this case because so much of this case was part of the Oval Office, Hope Hicks, Madeleine Westerhout. So much of that evidence the prosecution admitted was essential to their case goes out immediately based upon the Supreme Court's decision. Now, let's talk about the fact that there's a 330 motion for dismissal of the charges, which Merchan could grant immediately by establishing some kind of precedent and saying, you know what, from now on, when there's a president in the Oval Office, irrespective of when the jury verdict came down, the case has to be dismissed. And, temporary immunity, according to Alvin Bragg, doesn't require dismissal post-trial. I mean, this is so full of hate. This is so out of sync with the American public and what they want. Alvin Bragg, Juan Merchan, the two of them brought Donald Trump, they thought, to his knees. They thought that they would put this man in jail. They thought they were heroes and would swing an election. They are one of the reasons that Donald Trump got elected, because the American people do not believe in this kind of justice. This is what happens in third world countries, and Alvin Bragg continues to prove it. And Juan Merchan right now doesn't have the spine. He doesn't know what he's going to do. But right now they want a hearing. They'll have a hearing. They want a motion scheduled, Alvin Bragg, to decide the motion to dismiss. So Bragg is now putting it on Merchan, but is opposing it.
Here is the great, I don't know if you want to call it an irony or a tragedy or what you want to call it, Judge, but you've got a district attorney in Alvin Bragg who is willing to wait 4 years for some sentence to come down on Donald Trump, and it could be anything from a fine to who knows what, while at the same time, the justice system in New York let walk on the streets a homeless man who's mentally ill, who stabbed to death 3 people in the Big Apple yesterday.
3. Yeah. Look, I am standing in front of 100 Center Street. I am in front of the courthouse right now where Donald Trump was tried. And one of the defense attorneys came up to me. He said, you know what? I'm not a Republican. He said, but what they did in that Trump case is absurd. He said, I've got 10 clients whose crimes were committed, allegedly, he said, before this Trump case. He said, we can't even get them to trial. We can't even get the DA to talk about it. They rushed this case for the purpose of destroying Donald Trump. And the American people wouldn't have it. And this case has to be dismissed. It is a violation of everything we hold dear. It's unconstitutional. It is insufficient in terms of evidence, and it is reversible error. There's enough error in this thing to reverse a ship.
Piers Bragg signed this filing himself, which is noted as a departure from the office's typical practice. Judge, if you could also stand by with us on the breaking news, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.